Okay, so welcome to my talk. My name is Max Maischein, and I'm very happy to tell you today a bit about a module I wrote. The name of the module is www Mechanize Chrome. And yeah, if you sit down, I'll get started. So let me start with a short overview of what I'm going to tell you. First, I want to tell you a bit about why I wrote Mechanize Chrome. And then I'll tell you a bit about what Mechanize Chrome actually is and how it works a bit. And yeah, if the time permits, I will also tell you some war stories of the development of Mechanize Chrome. And yeah, I hope I can do some live demos of applications, how I use Mechanize Chrome, and especially also how you can use Mechanize Chrome to do fun things. Yeah, about me, as I said, my name is Max Maischein. I work for the DZ Bank in Frankfurt. It's the central bank of the cooperative banks in Germany. And yeah, my department there is data solutions, but nothing that you see here has anything to do with my work. This is mostly just fun stuff that I do. And yeah, at work, I don't get to use those fun modules and fun browsers. So yeah, what I do at work and what I also do at home is automation. It is one of the central motives in my life, I found, because if I can do something manually, then the computer can repeat it, and the computer doesn't get a hangover or is sick or does not want to do things. So the computer repeats it correctly every time. So I like to automate lots of things. The tools I use for automation are mainly Perl, and of course www Mechanize, a very good module, and I wrote www Mechanize Shell, which was in 2002. It is basically a command line browser that uses Mechanize as its backend to fetch the page and then show it. And in 2010, I wrote the module www Mechanize Firefox, which uses the Firefox browser. And in 2014, I presented about www Mechanize Phantom.js, which replaces the Firefox browser by the Phantom.js browser thing. And yeah, today I want to tell you about Mechanize Chrome. And whenever I say Chrome, I don't only mean the Google Chrome program, but also the Chromium browser, which is the Google Chrome browser except for some private keys and some special Google APIs, I think. So yeah, if you hear Chrome, you don't need to sign up with Google for that. You can also just use Chromium and everything will work the same. Now, why do I keep looking towards replacing www Mechanize with other things? Because Mechanize does many things quite well. But yeah, my problem or my topic is browser evolutions and the things that people do with browsers. Web applications still are cool, and people write their applications in JavaScript. And since I think 2 or 3 years, another layer of interaction was forced between the browser and the server. Web service workers, which are like a proxy in your browser, but behind your web page. So that's one more thing to debug or to circumvent. And why am I not content and stopped with Phantom.js? Well, once the new Chrome was announced, the author of Phantom.js said that they are planning to stop development. So I had to look for a new browser. And yeah, Firefox hates extensions and fights them. And especially that one extension that I use to talk from Perl to Firefox will soon stop working. So I am in need to find another browser that I can still talk to from Perl and that will do what I want. And yeah, why do I really want to automate a browser? I want to run local regression tests, and when I write some applications that also use a lot of JavaScript, I want to run the JavaScript regression tests, but regression tests the behavior of JavaScript in the browser, just with my Perl tools and run the code from Perl instead of building a second test suite just for JavaScript and running it with the JavaScript test tools. So yeah, and also I want to try out Travis CI, continuous integration. And yeah, for that, to get continuous integration with a browser, I need to automate a browser and look at the results within the browser. So yeah, what ways are there to run JavaScript in Perl? There are a lot of modules, or not a lot, but at least a handful of modules that can run JavaScript from Perl. There's JavaScript SpiderMonkey, which embeds the SpiderMonkey engine of Mozilla. But that can only do JavaScript, no DOM, no HTML directly. The same with JavaScript Ducktape. Ducktape is another self-contained JavaScript engine, and that engine is distributed right with the cpan module. So if you need a one-stop JavaScript solution and have a C compiler available, this module is good. But again, the module or the Ducktape engine doesn't understand the DOM or anything a browser does, just JavaScript. And currently it needs a small patch for Windows, but yeah, I've sent that patch to the author, and maybe next release or in the following release, that patch will also be there. And there is also JavaScript Engine, which is yet another JavaScript engine, which is written in pure Perl, which means you don't even need a C compiler, but it is a bit slow. Well, very slow. But if you don't have a C compiler, slow code is better than no code. And there is JavaScript Any, which tries to use the best of these JavaScript engine and provide a unified API to those. But none of these things can actually do the things that a browser does, like fetch all the images, send the correct headers, upgrade or downgrade from HTTPS, or verify certificates, or all that stuff that I don't want to deal with, really. So I always think I want to use a recognized platform, something where people know what to do when I give them a bug report, like, your website does not work with my custom hack job of implementing my own browser, gets a worse response than your website does not work in Chrome or your website does not work in Firefox. So that's why I keep coming back to Chrome. It is a recognized platform. It is a compatible platform. I mean, if something works in Internet Explorer, it likely also works in Chrome. And the cool thing about it is it's an interactive platform. I can actually watch the browser window and see what my program enters into a form field, or where that div is now actually positioned on the screen, instead of having to debug it indirectly, like getting a PNG of the current website, saving that to a file, and then opening that PNG in an image display program just to see what page I am actually on in my program. So yeah, that's why I keep ending up with those Mechanize modules that use various browsers. Interactivity is great, but it's not everything. Chrome is a browser, and usually it is my browser with my cookies and everything. So that's not necessarily the best thing. And also, Chrome really wants a UI window, which is not that great if I want to run something from a cron job or on Travis CI. There are ways to boot an X server and then have the browser display on that virtual X server. But yeah, it's much, much easier to simply not require any kind of user interactivity if I don't need it. And that's when I started, I think 5 or 6 months ago, Google announced that they now have a headless version of Chrome. That means, yeah, Chrome as a program does not open any user interface window or anything, and theoretically can run from a cron job if you pass it the magic headless command line parameter. To which I said, yay, now I can do both or have the best of both worlds. Non-interactive stuff like I had with Phantom.js, things that can run from a cron job and not display anything, and also interactive or aided browsing where I like log into a website, then start my script to do stuff, and then I look at the results within the browser, or I don't know, stuff like that. So yeah, Chrome really looks good currently. Now, how do I actually talk from Perl to Chrome? Well, there are the Chrome dev tools, which is a special API. Chrome listens on a TCP port once you start it with a magic command line parameter. And those dev tools, open a TCP port and you make a request there, and then you can open a WebSocket and talk with Chrome and trigger some APIs and get notifications about events. And using a WebSocket from Perl is not really hard. You can do it using any event or Modulicious. And that's what www.mechanize Chrome does. It opens a WebSocket channel to Chrome and then uses Chrome's API, the DevTools API, to make Chrome do what I want it to do. And on top of www.mechanize then sits my or your program for automating whatever you want to do. So that's what Mechanize Chrome is, an extended API of www.mechanize using Chrome as backend instead of LWP user agent or raw HTTP requests. Using it looks quite familiar if you already know www.mechanize. How many people here know the API of www.mechanize? Okay, great. So I won't explain that much to you, and I hope this basically looks familiar to you. In line 1, I create a new Mechanize Chrome object. Then in line 2, I pull up a page, the Perl conference Amsterdam page, and then in line 3 is a custom method that is not in www.mechanize, but in Mechanize Chrome to return the current page as PNG image. You would use that maybe for documentation or logging, or maybe even comparison if the layout of a website changed, but that's hard to do. Yeah. So yeah, the features of the Mechanize object are mostly the normal Mechanize API you already know. And of course, the main pull of it is it also supports JavaScript, which Mechanize doesn't and can't because, well, it doesn't include the JavaScript interpreter. It also includes some methods for content extraction that I found really, really helpful to select content either by CSS selectors or by XPath selectors. So you can basically use the content inspector of Google Chrome to find out the class names of interesting elements, and yeah, then use the same class names in your Perl code to pull out those elements and their content into Perl space and yeah, do whatever it is you want to do with them. What's also nice is you get full access to the JavaScript error messages. So yeah, making typos in your JavaScript can now also be detected in your Perl test suite, because if you pull up the page and there are JavaScript errors, your Perl code gets those errors back if it asks for them. And yeah, you can then fail your test or do other things like send angry emails or stuff like that. What have I used Mechanize Chrome for? Well, obviously website automation and integrated JavaScript unit tests. What I plan to use it for is also sniffing WebSocket content, because yeah, getting at the HTTP traffic is fairly easy. Either you use a plugin in the browser that displays all the outgoing requests and incoming responses, but listening to a WebSocket or listening to WebSocket traffic means you will need a proxy jammed in between the browser and the server. But this is very nice with Chrome. Chrome can send Perl an event for every message that goes over a WebSocket channel. So that is certainly one of my goals, to look much closer on to WebSockets and what traffic is sent over them. And I didn't get it to work, but in theory, you are also able to connect to the Chrome browser on a remote machine. That I could get to work, but in theory, you should also be able to connect to the browser on your Android phone. So if you are developing a JavaScript app that should work on the desktop browser, but also look good on a mobile browser, in theory, you could avoid hunching over your phone and trying your application there by running it remotely, or sending your input remotely to a browser on your phone. But I didn't get it to work. There seems to be some dance of you need to be registered with Google and signed in on your mobile phone to your Google account, and then your Chrome on your desktop, which you also have to be signed in, will somehow find that other browser. But I seem to be missing at least one step of that dance to get it to work. So yeah, I don't know. Future developments, hopefully. Okay, so I will now try a live demo.
One question.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Does it support incognito?
The question is, does it support incognito mode? I haven't tried it, but the API certainly supports it. The API of Google Chrome. I don't have.
I mean, you were complaining about it being your browser, and it occurs to me you can suppress all that if you can put it in incognito mode.
Yes, for using for separating my profile and the profile I'm browsing at, using incognito mode would be an approach, but I would still recommend against it. If we get to the war stories,
Yeah.
I will expand on that a bit more. Yes, but yes, basically everything you see in the Chrome Developer Tool tab, which you open with Ctrl-Shift-I or something, everything that's there is also available as through an API to Perl. It's mostly a matter of me providing the functions. So if you have a function that you really, really want to see, send me a patch. Okay, now, well, yeah, the live demo, well, the first and easiest thing is simply to create a new object and to get a URL. There's also a helper method that can retrieve a local file, but I'm feeling ambitious. And I will try not the local one, but a page requiring the internet. And at least it started Google Chrome, and yeah, the page is retrieved. And I think in the program is a 5-second sleep or something. And then it closes the window again. So yeah. The live demo worked, yes. But wait, there's more. No, this is basically how you can easily get at interesting elements in your HTML. Like I am, for this page, interested in all the links that have a class of download, and I want to print out the href attribute and the inner HTML, so I get a list of link text and link target. And yeah, with those simple calls, I will retrieve that local page, and I think only the link to the Chrome repository is interesting in the sense that it has a class of download, and yeah, you can then go on with your Perl program and download those files directly or spawn commands on a remote server or whatever to download links you have harvested. Now, obviously, JavaScript is of interest. So if you have some random string of JavaScript, like we have in line 7 here, you have to add 6 more lines of Perl around it. And then you can run that JavaScript and retrieve the results in Perl. And yeah, in my case here, we just print out the results. And oh yeah, one more thing. I'm here launching the browser with the headless option. So we won't see a browser window pop open, I hope, and still see the JavaScript results. So yeah. One thing I've used this very much for is writing my own Google Keep clone. Google Keep is a note-taking application, and yeah, I really like it, but I don't like sharing my data with Google or basically with anyone. And I try to self-host most of my stuff, which in turn means that I have to rewrite most of the interesting things because everybody thinks my data should be with them instead of me. So yeah, I'm writing this note-taking application for my phone and for my desktop. And it is mostly JavaScript and Perl because it runs in the browser. And I'm also using a service worker, which hopefully will do the data transfer from my phone to my server in the background instead of getting canceled whenever I close the browser. And yes, for that, I need a lot of tests. So I'm taking screenshots there if something goes wrong, and then look at those screenshots and hopefully figure out without going into my application what went wrong. So taking a screenshot is also simple. I've already showed you that content as PNG method, which returns the raw bytes for a PNG image. Oh. But for that to work, I need to launch my application. And here you see the local test instance of my note-taking application. And it took a screenshot. And there's the screenshot. Not really surprising, but if you want to compare screenshots and say this change should not change the layout of the site, or I don't know, the top 30 pixels must be always this banner image or whatever, you can do that. You can also take screenshots of captchas and redisplay them. Yes, a question.
Can you take a screenshot with the headless option?
Yes, taking screenshots is basically the only way to communicate, well, not communicate, but if you want to see what is happening on the headless browser, then you have to write out screenshots so you get a picture of what is happening, etc. And yes, also I'm doing basically integration tests for my JavaScript from Perl. You can invoke or eval code in the context of the browser page, send from Perl basically any kind of JavaScript you want to send. And I do that to, by staring at the page or by knowing what I want to receive as parameters. I know I want an object with a title and a text. And then I call the save item function on my page, which basically creates a new item for a node in my browser, then saves that item to my web server, and then in my test I can check whether the file saved on my web server is actually what I sent as my test data from my browser. So it's a fairly easy end-to-end test, but I don't have to fiddle around with send all the keys as keystrokes and everything. I can simply call functions within the JavaScript side of the world. Whoops. For some reason, it is trying to launch the wrong. Let me see. Yeah, we are good on time, so I will do some live coding. Oh, no, I don't even need to. I just need to start the correct program. So these are the current items, and now it added the Hello Amsterdam item, and that function returned null or undef. And in 5 seconds or so, it will close the browser again. For a real test, I would maybe take a screenshot of the upper left corner where I expect the new item to be, just to have something to debug or to look at if the test results are not what I expect. But testing is not everything. Chrome can also convert HTML to PDF. So if you are not happy with your current solution of converting HTML to PDF, you can also use Chrome for that. That's what the render content method is for. You give it the format. It's either PDF or PNG, and you get back you either get back the PDF file as a scalar, or if you pass it a file name option, you can even directly write it, the PDF, to a file. So yeah, I don't know if it's really useful, but Chrome can do it, at least if you launch it in headless mode. On Windows, printing to PDF does not work in the UI mode. I don't know why. Maybe it is on Linux the same. I don't really understand why you can only print to PDF, well, not print, save as PDF if you are not displaying something. But yeah, I don't know. There must be some deeper technical reason for that. And even producing PDFs works. I hope. And there you see the website in all its black and white glory as a PDF. But if you want to check the print view of your page, you can also fairly easy do that. Or if you just have a bunch of HTML and want to distribute it as PDFs. You also get full access to the timing of the website, the timing information, when DNS starts, DNS stops, when the first byte is sent out from the browser to the server, when the headers are received complete from the server, and when the response has been received. So you can also use that to collect timing information about how your web server performance is. If you say first byte needs to be received within, I don't know, 10 seconds or 1 second, depending on your performance requirements, you can check against the regression there. I've also implemented an API to handle message boxes like window alert and window message or something. You can get a callback for that and then decide whether to accept or dismiss things. And as I already said, you get full access to the browser console. So yeah, if you are burning with passion and want to start now, what do you need? Well, you need Chrome or Chromium. You need Mechanize Chrome installed. And yeah, you will need either any event or Modulicious. I don't care which. The module can handle both cases. If you have other WebSocket implementations that could be interesting, I'm open for patches for them. But yeah, these two are what I've been using so far. What is missing? Well, not everything of the www Mechanize API is implemented, especially the post method is not implemented. So far, I didn't need the post method. If you really need it, it shouldn't be too hard to implement it, but I've always put it off with the argument, I don't need it now, and I will implement it once I get to it. But so far, I didn't need to trigger a random post request. It was mostly filling out a form and then pressing the submit button, which sends a post request, I know, but yeah. Post. Oh, I already said it. Also for cookie management, there is very basic cookie management, but a real HTTP cookies module with the usual HTTP cookies API is also still needed. I just didn't get to it yet. Also, file downloads are not yet implemented, and I'm not sure whether Google Chrome actually implements these in a sensible manner. It would be nice to get a callback or something if a file gets downloaded, so you can say where to download it or to cancel that download. But I didn't find anything in the API documentation yet. Yeah, and yes, I copied most of the documentation from Firefox and Phantom.js to Chrome because I copied most of the API. But yeah, there are still some things that could be better, but I don't think I am the best person to write the documentation because I don't answer the really critical questions. I answer the questions that I know the answers to, and not really the things that you might ask. So if you send me questions, I'm always happy with that and try to work these either in the documentation or into an example so that the documentation grows. Yeah. Okay. We only have 4 minutes left, so you will have to look at the differences between the 3 browsers later on. And yeah, the war stories. Well, the one thing that Todd mentioned is, couldn't you launch your browser in private mode? In theory, yes. But if you are automating something, I really, really advise you to install, well, not even install, to have a browser, a separate browser where you switch automatic updates off and have it in its own separate directory so that your test suite does not surprisingly break just because that browser updated itself. That's usually not what you want to do, or at least that's usually not what I want to do. I want controlled updates, and I have, for current testing, I have 4 or 5 versions of Google Chrome installed in different directories to run the test suite with. And yeah, keeping the browser you automate separate from the browser you use is, at least for testing setups or unattended setups, very much needed, in my opinion. Yeah, that's it. I thank you for your presence. I hope you enjoyed it. I think we have time for 3 or 4 questions. Yes, please.
Do I need to have all the other Chrome windows closed before running programs?
The question is, when starting to use Mechanize Chrome, do you need to have all the other Chrome processes stopped? Yes. If you only have one Chrome browser, that one needs to be launched with the magic command line thing to enable the remote control. That's another good reason why I like to use multiple Chrome executables, because my main browser is not open to localhost with that part, but my automated browser is open. And but yes, if you have Chrome open and want to do an interactive session with your own Chrome, you need to relaunch it also with the debugging switch. Yes. More questions? Yes.
If the page that you're loading uses JavaScript to dynamically generate content on the page, is there some way of being notified when an event is taken, when, say, that the loading is complete, so that you can hook into that?
Yeah, the question is, if a page is still loading and is generating through JavaScript some content, are there events or callbacks that you can hook at? Yes, Google Chrome sends events back for the changes, and you can listen to those events. I haven't come up yet with a good way to send modifications back at that time when you get the event, but maybe that's just not possible. But at least, yes, you get to listen on everything that Chrome does. There was one more question, yes?
Yes, I have been using Selenium for many years. I think that it's an older module than yours. But one thing I've been struggling with a lot is that when I type a value into a text field, it seems like what I type in, it doesn't get in there in the Firefox browser. So when I submit the page, it says that this field needs to be filled out, and I try to fill it out again. But is there things like that with this concept, unexplainable things that seems to be different from a real browser?
Let me repeat it. So you are using www Selenium as a browser automation module, and when you send a command to enter text into a form field, it does not necessarily show up in the form field, and especially not in the post request then sent to the server. Well, I can think of reasons why this happens, and this can also happen with Mechanize Chrome. I fill forms by executing JavaScript within the page to set the value field of the HTML fields. So if a web page does ignore the value set, but listens to on-key up and on-key down events to fill its forms, then my approach will also fail because I don't send key up and key down reports. But that's mostly a matter of programming. So if it is really needed, you can implement that by also sending keystrokes. But I found it easier so far to just put in the correct values directly into the HTML and send an on-change event. So the same problem could be there. Yes, so 2 more questions, if there are any. Yes.
I'm currently using Mechanize Phantom.js. Do you recommend changing to Chrome anytime soon? Somebody mentioned, I caught something in a previous talk about Phantom.js and something's happened to it. Is that right?
The question is, what do I recommend? Do I recommend switching now from Phantom.js to Chrome? The two are mostly API compatible, but not in all ways. And as long as Phantom.js works for you, I wouldn't switch. But on the other hand, development on Phantom.js, or my impression is that development has stopped. So if you see some API or something that your target Java web page might use that you would want to automate, switching is in your future. Let's put it that way. Yeah, another important thing is Perl talks to Phantom.js through Selenium, and Selenium hates web automation. It is only intended for user simulation, so you don't get the status codes back and some other stuff back that you get with Mechanize Firefox and Mechanize Chrome. So that's why I consider Mechanize Chrome the superior module, but that doesn't mean that all your Phantom.js code is useless or anything. I would stay with Phantom.js as long as it works, because I don't see any immediate need to switch if what you have is working for you. Yeah, last question, please. Yes.
What do you use to compare screenshots in test cases?
What do I use to compare screenshots in test cases? I use my eyes. I think GitHub has a cool thing to compare screenshots in test cases. And basically, you should be able to do something with Imager as well to simply XOR the two images and then you see the differences. But yes, I don't have it set up in a way to really do a comparison beyond, is this the same image pixel for pixel as this image, which is a simple EQ comparison. So yeah, I don't have a good solution for that. Okay, thank you.